It's funny, I find that when I read the word silently, it's different than when I read it out loud. And when I read it out loud, I not only see, but I hear what I'm saying. And it has a different effect on me. Or if I listen to someone else read it. So I often will go onto the usccb.org and push the podcast and then hear the word proclaimed. And it hits me differently. So today I was reading it, and all of a sudden I noticed all the time in the first reading it kept saying, turn away from evil, turn away from sin. The one who turns away will be saved and will have life. So I went back and counted. There were 7 verses, and there were 6 times that it said turn away or turning away. And so that struck me as that's the most important thing that Scripture was saying. We need to turn away from evil, not just live it or experience it or judge it or say, oh my God, why is that so? We've got to turn away. We've got to make a change. So then I just, without even thinking, I went to the question of gun violence in our country, USA. Supposedly, well, the richest country in the world, I think, and an amazing country, but everybody has guns. I don't know if there's more guns than there are people, because there's many who have 2 or 3 or a whole arsenal. And I remember a couple weeks ago on the news, it flashed up there that in 42 days there were already, of the new year, 2024, in 42 days there were already 49 mass killings. And a mass killing is when there's more than 5 people shot, or mass shootings, I should say, not necessarily killing. And I just was astounded. So today I went online and I said to Miss S, you know who I'm talking about, S-I-R-I. I can't say the name because she'll talk back to me, or he or it will talk back to me. But I said, how many shootings have taken place, just shootings? Maybe I said mass killings. Anyway, in 2024. And it said already there are just under 5,000 shootings in our country. And then, it's, I think it's like 4,700 killings, and then another 1,395 people who were hurt but not killed. But I ask, how many of those were traumatized for the rest of their life? Every time a backfire of a truck, and they just jump inside because they were shot and live to tell about it. So I say to myself, what's wrong with this country, and what's wrong with people in it? Why do they resort to just shooting, just killing? Then I went on and I asked how many, because it gave you breakdowns, and it said yesterday. So I just went on to yesterday, and a whole page of shootings. It went on to the second page. I didn't count them, but it looked like 15 to 18 shootings just in the last 24 hours in this country. Is there a need to turn away from this evil? Oh, please, of course there is. But will we? Do we? Don't we? I don't know. And I think that part of the problem with Scripture, and I'd like to lift this up, is that there's a lot of double meanings. I don't know if in the Filipino languages there are double meanings, but I know Mexicans or Latinos love double meanings, doble sentidos. They love them. And they say a word, and you can take it 2 ways. And I think we do it in English, but I don't know. I think at least in the Latino languages they do. And I think Scripture is filled with it. So, for example, today God is saying, if you don't turn away from evil, you will die. Well, does he mean physically? Well, at least in this area of mass shootings, yeah. Don't turn away from evil, and people are going to die. Maybe not the shooter, but most times I think they finally get the shooter too. So people die because of their evil. And if we turn away from it, we shall live. We'll keep living, literally, physically. But I think for the mass, most of us, I'm not going to ask anybody to raise their hand if you have a gun, but my guess is that most of us here do not have a gun. And so we don't have to turn away from that evil. But what other kind of evil? There's a whole bunch of interior evil. For example, Jesus gives a good example today, and very dramatically. He's telling the people, us, we got to be more righteous than the scribes and Pharisees, than these people that talk a big talk, but they find ways to avoid doing what they should do. He said, you got to be better than that. And then he says specifically, you've heard the commandment, you shall not kill. And if you kill, you'll be liable to judgment. What I say, don't even hate your brother or sister. Don't call them raka. Don't call them fool. And then Jesus goes for the biggest package of all. He says, if you're walking down the aisle to give a gift to God, and on the way down you remember, Marisol, I'll pick on you because you're there, okay? Not that I have something against Marisol, but I realize, oh my God, she's mad at me. She has something against me. Jesus says, leave your gift, put it down, and run over there to Marisol and say, Marisol, what did I do to you? How did I offend you? Can I fix this? How can we reconcile? Then he says, after you reconcile, and again, you don't have a problem with Marisol, but you know that she has one with me, then come back then and offer the gift. And I said it a few weeks ago, but I'll say it again. What mother here who has a child or has some children, and they're always fighting with each other. I mean fighting, punching each other. They just do awful things. They say awful words. I won't even mention the letters that are so bad that represent the word. And they scream at each other. And you just as a mother or father, it's like, oh God, would these kids quit fighting? And then on Mother's Day, they all bring you these gifts, flowers and chocolates. And you want to say, just put the gift. I don't want chocolate. I want you to stop fighting. Turn away from your evil ways. Fix your relationship with your brother and sister. I want my children to be at peace. Isn't this really what God is saying? So, early in Lent, we're only at the first week of Lent, and we've got weeks to go. We're asked to do some reconciling, and reconciling is not an easy thing. To go to somebody that we haven't talked to, and we can say, I didn't have anything against them, but they've been treating me terribly, and they got a problem with me. And Jesus is saying, can we live with that? Is that just okay? Or should we not at least attempt to reconcile? And if we do attempt to reconcile and the person doesn't want to, well, we can't make anybody do anything. But at least we tried. And then maybe we just pray for them. Maybe we just pray for them. Say, God, I don't know why they don't want to fix it with me, but they're in your hands. I want you to love them. Give them a good day. Bless them. Fill them with your life. Because if we walk away with blessings in our heart, that is so much better than to walk away with resentments in our heart. And resentments kill. They just kill the spirit. So Jesus says it simply. Turn away from the evil ways, and you will find life. Please stand.